Alright, so apologies for the slight oversaturation here. If it gets a little bothersome, it's just my phone. Anyway, so these are the Game Boy games I have. Like I said, a mix of Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games here. I'll start with the Game Boy, the regular Game Boy and Game Boy Color stuff first before moving on to the advanced stuff to make it a bit more consistent. So let's get started. First, I have Pac-Man Special Color Edition. It's just basically Pac-Man on Game Boy Color. Nothing more, nothing less, but it does have Pac Attack, which is kind of cool, so that's pretty neat. It's not a bad version either. Donkey Kong Land 2. Uh, the saturation is getting kind of bad. I don't like it too much. Yeah, Donkey Kong Land 2. This game is really fun. It's in a way it is kind of like a port of Donkey Kong Country 2, but at the same time it's also more like a remix of Donkey Kong Country 2, but it's a solid game. I have had a lot of fun playing it. Controls just as well too. Quest for Camelot, which is not very good. It is based off the Warner Brothers movie from 1998, and it was all right. I remember liking it when I was younger, but I haven't seen that movie in so long, so I don't know how it is now. But the game is not very good. It's just a Zelda clone, which looks really good, but unfortunately, it plays kind of poorly. It's a very boring, lackluster Game Boy Color game. Not really worth getting. Pokemon Red. It's a classic. I mean, Gen 1 is classic. We all know it. We all love it. Although playing the original versions of these games, it definitely doesn't. It really shows its age. Like Red and Blue are they may be fun for nostalgic purposes, but there's really not much of a reason to go back to now that you have the remakes on Game Boy Advance or even Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee on Switch now. But hey, it's still good, nice to have in the collection. Game and Watch Gallery 2, which contains about 6 games, which are all based off of Game and Watch games, as the name suggests, and it's pretty good. It's got some fun stuff in there. The cool thing about it is you can play the original Game and Watch versions, or you can play modernized remixed versions of it, which is pretty cool. Kirby's Pinball Land. I haven't played too much of this, but from what I played of it, it's a decent pinball game with the usual bells and whistles of pinball, but a little more subdued, not as complex. It's all right. The Lion King, which is not a very good port, if I'm being honest. The Super Nintendo and Genesis versions are okay, but this version is kind of bad. Like, the game looks fine, but the controls are very messy. Like, they can get very unresponsive at times, and the collision detection doesn't always work. It's got some technical problems, and it kind of hinders the game's playability, which I wasn't a big fan of. Battletoads and Double Dragon. It's a beat 'em up on the Game Boy. It's not too bad. It's fairly decent. Not the greatest, but it's all right. That's all I can really say about it. Pokemon Blue, same as Red. It's nice to have in the collection, and it can be fun to go back to for nostalgia. But other than that, there's really not much of a reason to go back to it. But hey, still nice to have in the collection though. Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, which is one of the only Game Boy Color exclusive games I have in my collection. Ones that cannot be played on the original Game Boy. Um, but yeah, this game is really good. Easily one of my favorite games on the Game Boy Color. Unfortunately, my copy does not work anymore, and you either need to get it fixed or just get it replaced. Because every time I try to start it up, it just always fades to white, and it's so sad. Especially considering I actually had a lot of fun playing this one. But that's alright. I'll get a new one, maybe. Donkey Kong Country. A pretty decent port of the Super Nintendo game, but of course the Super Nintendo port is better. Sadly, my copy does not really work that great anymore. Like every time I try to play it, like actually try to play gameplay of it, there's no enemies on screen, which is really weird, and it's full of glitches. My copy is. I know the actual game is not because I did play this while it was still working, but unfortunately my copy has really kicked the bucket. It doesn't play that well, and the enemies are not on screen. So and it is basically unplayable. So I really need to get myself a new copy. But I do remember liking it, but it's definitely not as good as the Super Nintendo version. The soundtrack, though, it is really good. The 8-bit renditions are quite interesting. Mario Golf. I haven't played too much of this, but from what I played, it was a pretty fun game. Blades of Steel. Now, I'm not normally into sports games. I don't really care for them that much. But this is actually a really fun game. I had a lot of enjoyment with this one. It's very simple. It's just a pick up and play hockey game with no overcomplications. It's pure fun. I really like it. It's good Blades of Steel action on the go, so definitely worth checking out. Donkey Kong from 1994. This is an enhanced port of the arcade game, I would say, with some, well, actually I don't know if I can say it's an enhanced port, maybe more like a remake or something like that. But needless to say, it is a great version of this game. It is a ton of fun. There's lots of levels. The music is really good. The sound effects also work well with it. And also another thing, it's just a big game. There's the sheer scope of it is quite cool. Um, Really, what else is there to say? It's Donkey Kong, but definitely one of the best games on the system, if you ask me. It's so good, so much fun. Super RC Pro Am. This is a decent game, but nothing too overly interesting. Just an okay port of the RC Pro, just an okay port of the RC Pro Am games on the NES. That's all I can say about it. Yoshi's Cookie, an okay puzzle game, nothing too amazing, but it's alright. Bart Simpson's Escape from Camp Deadly. The cartridge just kind of busted up, but the game still works surprisingly. Um, yeah, this game sucks. It is just really, really bad. It's extremely slow. The graphics are piss poor. Looks like utter shit, and the controls are just delayed, and the music. Ugh. It is a very, very bad Game Boy game. Basically, one of the worst Game Boy games I've ever played, and one of the worst games in my collection. I love The Simpsons, but this game just sucks. I would not recommend checking it out. And Toy Story 2. Um, I love the PlayStation version. Thought it was really good. The Game Boy Color version, though, is not. The Game Boy Color version is actually pretty bad. The graphics are all right, but the gameplay and the music. Well, the gameplay is not terrible, but the controls are really weird. Like, the attack button is the same as the jump button, which is kind of stupid and it feels awkward, to say the least. And the music is just hard on the ears, very annoying. I'm not I don't mind 8-bit chip tunes, but for a Game Boy Color game, this is pretty bad. So, yeah, don't get the Game Boy Color version. If you're going to play Toy Story 2, just get the PS1 version or just watch the movie. The movie is actually really good. Anyways, so that is the Game Boy Color and regular Game Boy stuff. Now, here goes the Game Boy Advance stuff, which I have a fair amount. Pokemon Sapphire. I played this one quite a lot, really enjoyed it. I love Gen 3, one of my favorite Pokemon generations, even if there was a whole lot of water, which is admittedly a little bit annoying. Still a lot of fun. And yeah, it's just a great game. But so is Emerald. Emerald's actually the best way to play the best way to play the original Gen 3, if you ask me, but I've heard Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were really good, but I have never played them, so I can't say yet. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This is not a port of the Game Boy Color game. It's actually its own thing, and well, it's not very good. It's it's just an it's just a mediocre puzzle platformer. Well, not really puzzle platformer, puzzle adventure game with very little substance. Not much to do here. It's just a very boring run of the mill Game Boy Advance game. Nothing interesting. Tekken Advance. Yes, this exists, and it actually doesn't suck. Yeah, I'm not joking. This game is actually good. It's really good. It's a very good fighting game on the system. It plays quite well. It looks good, and the music is actually not terrible. Like, the Game Boy Advance doesn't have the greatest sound chip, but when it produces good quality, it produces some good quality sound. And this actually works quite well here. Some of the tunes are taken from the arcade version of Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag and brought onto this, and the Game Boy Advance renditions of it are pretty admirable. So I thought that was a pretty good job. Yeah, it's just an admirable fighting game on the system. I definitely recommend checking it out if you're curious. F-Zero Maximum Velocity. I'm sad I don't have GP Legend yet, but this reminds me a lot of the Super Nintendo game, and I love that game so much. F-Zero on Super Nintendo is one of my favorites. And Maximum Velocity is really good too. Not as good, it's not as interesting as the uh, original game, but it's still really fun. It plays quite well. Um, Definitely doesn't have the same energy as F-Zero on the Super Nintendo, but still a very good game. I would definitely check it out. It's really cheap too. Pokemon Fire Red version. This is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to play Fire Red, and I'm sorry about the lack of focus. My phone's camera just does not want to cooperate with me. There we go. But yeah, this game is really good. Definitely the best way to play Red and Blue, or even Gen 1 in general. Although I have heard that Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu were best, but some would debate that Fire Red's the best, and I have never played Let's Go Eevee or Pikachu, so I can't say much myself. But I'm here to say now that this is a really good way to play Gen 1. It's so much fun. It has the quality of life improvements of Gen 3 from Pokemon Sapphire, Ruby, and Emerald, and puts them all in here, and it feels so much better to play. It's a lot faster paced, and the music's a lot better. Although the music on the Game Boy version is still a classic, and I still definitely like it, I just love the tunes here a little bit more. Some of them are not so great. I don't really care for the Pokemon theme. I mean, not Pokemon theme. I don't really care for the Pokemon Center theme in the GBA version all that much. It just sounds like some stupid wedding bell crap with the pitch it's in. I'm not a fan of it. I prefer the original Game Boy's sound on that regard, but for most of the other tunes, though, I really like it a lot more. Hot Wheels Velocity X and World Race. These are they're two games in this dull pack, and Velocity X, it's not really that great on the Game Boy Advance. It's got this isometric perspective, which sounds great on paper, but it controls like ass. Not really a fan of it. World Race, on the other hand, though, is pretty decent. It's actually a fairly solid Hot Wheels game. A bit bland in the track design, but an overall really solid game in its gameplay. I had a lot of fun with it. Dynasty Warriors Advance. I love the Dynasty Warriors games, even though they're kind of getting a bit repetitive over the years. I still really enjoy some good Dynasty Warriors action, and this game is sort of has that. You can still hack and slash in this game, but it's a little different here than it is in the other games, because this one's a more strategy type deal. It's a tactical game. It's a tactical strategy game, and it's also a hack and slash game. But the hack and slash gameplay is divided between the tactical elements. But is it good? It's not bad. It's actually pretty okay. Not a great game, but it's okay. Not too bad. I actually did have some fun with it. Although the tactical segments can be a bit frustrating to work with at times, but hey, still enjoyable. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past with Four Swords. I mostly just got this for Link to the Past, but anyways, yeah, this game is really good. I love the original game on the Super Nintendo, and the Game Boy Advance version is a damn near perfect conversion. I think this is a really well made conversion of the original game. It still plays well. It looks amazing. It's just a fantastic game. I've had so much fun playing it, regardless if I played it on Super Nintendo or GBA. It's just it's just a great game in general. Now here's something interesting. Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper. And as you can see here, there is no ESRB rating, whereas the rest of them do, and that's because this is a European import. The game does actually exist in the North American market, but the thing is, I ended up getting the European version by accident. However, I'm not too upset about it because it still works on my system, so no worries there. But it plays perfectly on my system, so no biggie. Um, so what do I think of this? I think this is a fantastic conversion of the original Street Fighter 3. I mean, Street Fighter Alpha 3 is still one of my favorite games, or at least one of my favorite Street Fighter games of all time. And this conversion is really good. It's really well made. Like, there's a lot of characters on screen, even more than the arcade version. There's like a little over 35 characters here, which is pretty damn great for a Game Boy Color game. The graphics are really nice. They look good for a Game Boy Color game. Game Boy Color? I mean Game Boy Advance. They look really good for a Game Boy Advance game. The music's not really that good. It's just it does kind of suffer the early Game Boy Advance sound chip syndrome, where it still had a lot of wounds licking off of the Game Boy Color, where it was still more chip tuney than anything. But it's not too bad. But the game plays very well. It's a very good playing game. It's fast, it's frantic, and even with just four buttons with the A and B and L and R buttons, it still works very well on this system. So yeah, I think Crawfish Interactive did a great job with this port. Definitely one of their best outings by far. It's too bad Crawfish is dead though. They died like shortly after the GBA port of Alpha 3, which is unfortunate. Yu-Gi-Oh! The Eternal Duelist Soul. I really enjoyed this game, and I find this to be incredibly addicting to play. It is a traditional Yu-Gi-Oh! Card battle game, and that's all I really want out of it. It's so much fun. The music's really not that great, but the game is a ton of fun, and it's challenging too. I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot when I was in high school, and I loved it to death. Then it got really, really overcomplicated. Like every freaking monster has like these overly long descriptions, and it's kind of annoying. And some of these cards that were banned, they've been replaced by more complicated cards that I can't even keep up with. So I just kind of stopped. But this one keeps things simple, and I still play it because of that. It's just a fun game. Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness. An okay conversion of the console games, but not particularly that great. Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. I will say this, it's better than the PS2 remake, but as far as Kingdom Hearts games go, this is my least favorite by far. I'm not really a fan with the direction they took with the battle system. I find it to be really frustrating and clumsy to work with, and a lot more restrictive and limited. And I also didn't really care for the boss fights. I just thought they were either they were just either really frustrating or just flat out boring. And the story is just kind of a retread of the first game, which I like the first game enough, but the fact that they just kind of regurgitated the first game's story with some similar elements, it's just kind of bothered me to some degree. It does look nice. The game is very good looking on the Game Boy Advance, and the music's good too, but the game is just not really that fun in my opinion. I prefer Kingdom Hearts 2. That will always remain my favorite. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. This is an awesome game. I still really love it. I love the expressiveness of the characters, the world you explore with Mario and Luigi. It's so great. It's full of life and all that. And the music is really good. For a Game Boy Advance game, the sound quality is really solid. I absolutely love it. It's a very endearing and very charming RPG. I highly recommend checking it out. Even in 2020, it's still fun to play. Tomb Raider Legend. This game's not very good. It's not awful, but it's a very lackluster action platformer. Nothing much to say here. Spyro Season of Ice. For a GBA conversion of a Spyro game, it's pretty good. I actually liked it quite a bit. It plays a lot like the PS1 games, but in a different perspective, which does not take away from the experience, which I thought was great. So, yeah, pretty fun. Road Rash Jailbreak. This is a very underrated racing game on the system. I mean, everyone knows the Genesis game was a lot of fun, but not many people really talk about Jailbreak, especially not the GBA version, which in my personal opinion is pretty damn awesome. It's a really fun racing game on the system where it actually focuses more on combat as opposed to the racing. The graphics take a Mode 7 approach, which looks quite nice, and the characters are pre-rendered and all that. The engine noise does get a little annoying, but it's not too bad. But the gameplay is what matters most here. It plays well, it controls well, and it's extremely satisfying to knock players off their bike. It's so much fun. Really enjoy it, and a great time killer too. And last game I have is Mario Kart Super Circuit. This game's alright, but my biggest complaint with it is the controls. It feels very slippery for some reason. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I always found the controls be kind of slippery. But that is all I've got for my Game Boy Advance and other Game Boy collection. A little over 30 games, and some really good, some not so much, but I do plan on getting more in the future. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.